Let's start with the reading of the two essays that were assigned for the first week. And I started out the discussion briefly on the very first week of class about the indigenous population versus the African population, which one's highlighted, why is, and then really raising all of these questions about nation formation, how are nations constructed, let's see, how is history constructed, why is one, and then bringing it down to the readings for this week, for that first week, it's really, you know, how historical, thinking about how historical writing really privileges certain and highlights certain things is in a way to construct an argument, and how we can think about that, the importance of thinking about that when we read. And of course, then that's something that we need to teach our students to do as well. But we'll start first by exploring these two articles. Now that you've had a chance to read them, any thoughts?
Of the Africans is greater than the native in the myth of what's our culture in Puerto Rico. It's really not acknowledged, although it's there. And he gives us, you know, several examples.
I thought he was saying it wasn't acknowledged. The people, basically, even if they don't come out and say it, and they don't say, I am associating with my African roots in the Puerto Rican culture, that they are just in their actions.
They live it.
Exactly, in their food and in their dress.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they don't pronounce it, they are living it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the elite, and that's the smaller group. They're the ones that are not pronouncing it, nor are they living it.
He said it's a dance theater, and it was a Puerto Rican choreographer. At one point, the dancers are there, and all they say is, I'm not black, I'm Indian. And it doesn't matter, they're all races on stage, you know, and the setup is almost like at interrogations, you know. In Spanish and in English. I thought how bizarre, frankly, you know. But now I understood that there was this willingness to acknowledge the Indian heritage, but not the black. And I did comment with my friends, and they sort of laughed. They said, well, you don't know Puerto Rico. But it was really a whole scene, all of them just saying that. Yo no soy negro, soy indio, no matter what their complexion was. So it was sort of unnerving and funny, but I understand it a touch better now.
After reading these two essays. Okay. And so I think that what you've come across, Jessica, is really the basic paradox or contradiction in that Jose Luis Gonzalez is trying to highlight. Right? He's saying this is the very contradiction, or that's what comes across as being so contradictory about Puerto Rican culture, is that here we have this large African presence that's been on the island much longer than all of these, because he talks about the four stories and of the culture. And what are they, by the way, just to make sure that we're clear on all of our facts? What are the four stories?
American capitalism and an opportunistic Puerto Rican populism began to build onto the island's social structure from the 1940s. So it's the American, but it's the capitalist American.
Is the fourth. What about the African? Where's that?
Actually, there's no Spanish as such.
Well, there is. What is the Spanish influence?
Wouldn't the Spanish be, I mean, granted, the African is the first story, but they were brought over by the Spaniards. So isn't that story a combined one?
How does he define it?
So I can read page